Have you ever checked your pocket change and wondered if you might be holding a fortune? Well, get ready, we're counting down the top 10 ultra-rare Lincoln pennies, worth up to millions of dollars, from hidden minting errors to mysterious varieties that slipped past inspectors. These tiny copper treasures have made collectors, so grab your coins. The most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered. Number 1 will absolutely blow your mind. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most mysterious and ever struck, the 1960s-era Lincoln penny. This tiny copper coin has caused massive excitement among collectors for decades. Some of these pennies, just 1 cent in face value, one extremely rare 1960s variety, could easily be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, or even $1 million if the right collector gets their hands on it. The background: to understand why the 1960 Lincoln penny is so special, we need to travel back in time to 1960. A year of major change at the U.S. Mint. Dwight D. Eisenhower was president, the American economy was booming, and Lincoln cents had already been a familiar face in everyone's pockets for over 50 years, since 1909. The Lincoln cent had honored Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. How to identify a rare 1960 penny? Okay, so how can you tell if your 1960 penny is one of these rare treasures? Here's what to look for. Small date versus large date. On the small date, the is level with the top. On the large date, TH sits slightly lower. The small date numbers look thinner and taller overall. Mint mark deposition. Check for signs of doubling around the D a second. Faint D may appear above, below, or slightly beside the main one. That's a repunched mint mark. RPM, overdate traces. Look closely at. If you see any ghost-like impressions or unusual doubling, you might have a small date over large date hybrid. Condition matters. Coins with sharp details, no scratches, and full red luster command massive premiums. Even one in average circulated condition can fetch hundreds if the error is. Auction records and shocking values. Let's talk real money. Here are some verified auction results that'll blow your mind. A 1960 small date over large date penny graded MS67 red sold for $19,000 to $100 at a heritage auction. Another MS66 Plus example brought $10,350, proving collector demand is still strong decades later. Even circulated examples with visible date doubling have sold for $5,000 to $1,000 on eBay and at coin shows. But here's what's truly amazing. Experts believe that an ungraded, full red example with perfect detail and dramatic doubling could easily surpass $50,000 or more if discovered today. And if a unique die state or proof-like strike were ever uncovered, that could push it into the six-figure range, possibly even $1 million headline coin. One of the most mysteries ever uncovered: the 1964 SMS Lincoln penny, a coin that was never supposed to exist. So stay tuned until the very end, because it's fascinating history, and how a single coin from this rare issue could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even over $2 million. The background: to understand how this legendary penny came to be, we have to rewind to 1964, a turbulent year for U.S. coinage. The nation was in the middle of a coin shortage. Millions of Americans were hoarding silver coins as metal prices soared, and the mint was under immense pressure to produce billions of coins for circulation. How to identify if you have one? Now, let's talk about how you can identify a potential 1964 SMS penny. If you find a 1964 Lincoln cent that looks unusually sharp or proof-like, here's what to check. Look at the surfaces. It should have a smooth, satin-like finish, not the mirror shine of a proof or the dull tone of a circulation coin. Check the rims. SMS coins have thick, squared rims. Regular pennies have softer, rounded ones. Inspect the strike. Details like Lincoln's bow tie, beard, and the steps of the Lincoln Memorial should appear deeply defined and crisp. No mint mark. If it has a D for Denver, it's not an SMS. All known examples are from Philadelphia. Get professional verification. If you believe you have one, send it to PCGS or NGC for authentication. If it's real, you might be holding a life-changing treasure. Auction highlights and market impact. Let's look at some record-breaking sales that prove how valuable this coin truly is. In 2005, Stax Bowers sold a 1964 SMS Lincoln cent graded SP68 for $14,950. In 2019, another example graded SP67RD sold for over $10,000. And the market continues to grow. Collectors and investors know these coins rarely surface, so demand is sky high. Experts predict that if a previously unknown example appeared in 2025 and was confirmed authentic, it could easily break $20,000 and possibly reach $1 million or more, depending on the grade and appeal. Just imagine that headline: uncirculated 1964 SMS Lincoln penny found, sold for over $1 million. That's the kind of discovery that changes coin history forever. Today, we're talking about one of the most famous and valuable pennies in U.S. history, the 1969 S-era Lincoln penny, also known. So grab your magnifying glass and stay tuned to the end, because we're going to uncover the unbelievable story, the history, the features, and the shocking values of this mysterious coin, a coin that turned ordinary pocket change into $1 million treasure. The background: let's rewind to 1969. The United States was in the middle of major change. The Vietnam War was raging. Neil Armstrong was preparing to walk on the moon, and in the world of coinage, the Lincoln cent was about to enter its 60th year in production. The San Francisco Mint, known for producing coins with the S mint mark, was striking millions of Lincoln cents for circulation. Record-breaking values. Now, let's talk about what everyone's waiting for: value. The 1969's double-die obverse penny has sold for staggering amounts at auction. Here are just a few record-breaking examples. In 2008, a PCGS MS-64 red example sold for $26,500. In 2015, another graded MS-64 red fetched $14,000. Then, in 2018, an incredible specimen graded MS-64 red sold for $26,500, again proving collector demand hasn't slowed down. And in 2023, a top-grade MS-66 red example was estimated at $50,000 to $60,000. But experts believe that if a flawless, full red, uncirculated example, possibly graded MS-67 or MS-68 ever appeared, it could easily surpass $1 million at auction. That's right, a single penny, 1 cent in face value, could be worth $1 million or more. How to identify one? Now, here's the part that gets collectors excited. How can you tell if your 1969 S penny is the rare double die? Here's what to look for. Liberty. The entire word shows thick, distinct doubling that you can see without magnification. Mint mark. The S mint mark is not doubled. That's key. The mint mark was added after the die was made. So if the mint mark is doubled, it's not the real one. Condition and luster. Because these are highly valuable, fakes exist. Genuine coins have sharp detail and full copper luster, not dull or blurry surfaces. If you think you found one, don't clean it and don't sell it privately. Send it to a professional grading service like PCGS, NGC, or ANAX immediately for authentication. In this video, we're diving deep into the world of the 1971 S Lincoln penny, one of the most mysterious and valuable pennies ever struck. We'll explore its history, uncover its rare minting errors, and reveal how collectors are paying staggering amounts for the finest examples of this unassuming little coin. So grab your magnifying glass. The background. Let's start with a bit of fascinating history. The year was 1971, a time of transition in America. The Vietnam War was still ongoing. Apollo missions were exploring the moon, and inflation was beginning to rise. Amid all of this, the U.S. Mint continued its mission to produce billions of circulating coins for the American people. The most rare errors and valuable: off-center strike, $5,000 to $6,000, clipped planchette, $2,500 to $3,500, broad strike error, $4,000 to $5,000, struck through foreign material, $7,000 to $9,000. How to identify one? Now here's what you've been waiting for: how to check if your penny might be the jackpot. Check the mint mark. Look just below the date. If it has a small, clean S, you're dealing with a San Francisco coin. Use a magnifying glass. Carefully inspect Liberty and the date. If you see doubling or shadow-like outlines, that's your cue. Look for proof features. Deep mirror finish and frosted details indicate a proof coin. Check for error signs. Off-center designs, unusual texture, or incomplete strikes are valuable clues. Get it graded. Submit it to PCGS or NGC. Professional grading dramatically increases its value and authenticity. We're uncovering the full story behind the 1972-era Lincoln penny, its fascinating history, the mistakes that made it priceless, and how you can identify one that could turn your pocket change into a fortune. So grab your magnifying glass, because by the end of this video, you might just learn that 1 cent could be worth more than your entire coin collection combined. The background. Let's rewind to the early 1970s. The year was 1972. The Vietnam War was raging, gas was cheap, and Richard Nixon was president. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies every year to meet America's demand for small change. The Lincoln Memorial Cent, designed by Victor David Brenner and Frank Gasparo, had been in circulation since. The most rare errors and valuable off-center strike. $2,000 to $3,000. Clipped planchette for $1,000 to $6,000, double struck. $1,000 to $5,000, wrong planchette errors. $10,000 to $30,000. How to identify one? Now, if you're thinking, could I have one of these in my collection? Here's how to tell. Look closely at the date and lettering. The doubling on die is clear and strong. You'll see thick, separated lines in Liberty, and the date 1972. Use a 10x magnifier. Even small varieties show doubling on the 2 in 1972, or the letters in Liberty. Check the mint mark. The 1970 to DDO comes from the Philadelphia Mint, so it will not have a D or S under the date. Get it authenticated. If you believe you have one, send it to PCGS, NGC, or NX for grading and verification. A certified label can turn a $200 coin into a $1,000 collectible instantly. In this video, we're uncovering the hidden secrets of the 1978-era Lincoln penny, the coin that can transform a single cent into a life-changing treasure. We'll dive deep into its history, explore the rare minting errors, reveal auction prices that believe, and show you spot one that could make you rich. The background. Let's rewind to the year 1978. Disco music filled the air. Gas was under $1, and the United States Mint was busy producing billions of coins to keep the economy running smoothly. At the Denver Mint, over 4.28 billion Lincoln pennies were struck that year, each marked with the small D mint mark just below the date. Other rare errors and varieties, off-center strikes. $1,000 to $2,000, clipped planchette error, $3,000 to $5,000, broad strike errors. $8,000 to $9,000. Double struck errors, $10,000 to $14,000. How to identify a valuable 1978-era penny, ready to hunt for treasure. Here's what to look for in your own change jar or coin collection. Check for the D mint mark, located just below the date. Only coins from Denver have this mark. Look closely for doubling. Examine the words Liberty and strong doubling is your best clue for a high-value error. Inspect for shape and alignment. Any off-center design, clipped edge, or broad appearance could signal a valuable strike error. Weigh the coin. A normal 1978 D penny weighs 3.11 grams. If it's lighter or heavier, it might have been struck on the wrong planchette, worth a fortune. Get it certified. Submit it to PCGS, NGC, or NX for professional grading. A certified coin always sells for much more than an uncertified one. In this video, we're uncovering the hidden secrets of the 1981 Lincoln penny, a coin that marks the final chapter of an era, where a small minting mistake could make you rich beyond imagination. So, stay with me until the very end. Because once you see how valuable some of these pennies can be, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. The background. The year is 1981, the last full year before the U.S. Mint made a historic change. For more than 2 decades, Lincoln pennies had been struck from a copper alloy, 95% copper, and 5% zinc. But by the early 1980s, copper prices were soaring. In fact, by 1981, it was costing the mint almost as much to make a penny as the coin's own face value. The most rare errors and valuable off-center strikes, $3,000 to $12,000, clipped planchets. $2,500 to $8,000, broad strikes, $4,000 to $7,000, double strikes. $10,000 to $20,000. How to identify a valuable 1981 error penny. If you've got a jar of old coins sitting around, it's time to check those 1981 pennies carefully. Here's what to look for. Date and mint mark, doubling. Examine liberty and the date. If they appear doubled or shadowed, you may have a doubled die obverse. Weight. Normal 1981 pennies weigh 3.11 grams. Anything around to 0.5 grams could be a transitional zinc planchette. Edge and centering, off-center, broad strike, or clipped edges can mean big money. Proof coins. If you find a mirror like 1981's penny with an unusual S or strike mark, it could be worth thousands. And always remember, for rare coins, certification matters. Get your coin graded by PCGS, NGC, or ANACS. A certified coin not only confirms authenticity, but also increases its market value dramatically. Today, we're diving deep into the most valuable 1983-era copper Lincoln penny, uncovering its history, its rare composition, and how a few lucky collectors became thousands of dollars richer, all because they noticed one strange detail on a coin everyone else ignored. So, grab your magnifying glass, yourself checking every single penny, the background, to understand why the 1983 penny is so special. We have to go back to a turning point in U.S. coin history, the early 1980s. Before 1982, every Lincoln penny was made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. But rising copper prices meant that the metal inside each coin was worth more than 1 cent. The mint couldn't afford that. The most rare errors and valuable, double die reverse DDR, $3,000 to $4,000, off-center strikes, $8,000 to $15,000, double struck error, $3,000 to $7,000, wrong planchette errors, $30,000 to $50,000. How to identify one? Now here's the part everyone's waiting for. How can you find one? It's simple, but it takes patience. Check every 1983 penny you own. Look just below Lincoln's shoulder for the small D mint mark. Use a digital scale. If it weighs around 3.1 grams, that's your cue to look deeper. Get it certified. Send it to PCGS, NGC, or NX for verification. Avoid cleaning the coin. Cleaning can reduce its value dramatically. Leave it in its original state. And remember, new examples are still out there hiding in piggy banks, coin jars, and inherited collections all across America.